there's always so many things to be learned from this life. There's so much information, so many experiences to be learned from, and it's hard to process it all. So you got to get the most out of it as you go along. And if there's lessons that repeat themselves, then you got to learn those things. And then if small lessons pop up that don't ever pop up again, then you can probably kind of forget them. What are the lessons that I've learned recently? Well, first off, don't spend money on random things. Spend it on guarantees, right? If I spent it on random things, that would mean like the likelihood of this returning money back to me is much more risky or much riskier than I'm willing to spend money on at this point in time. If I spend $300 trying to go source some wood, right? Just on the rental for a trailer and a chainsaw, and then it takes me a full day to go do it, and 4 hours of driving to get up there, 4 hours driving to get back, a whole day of sawing, and I haven't gotten the wood that I need from this tree that fell in the storm that just came through, right? A salvaged urban timber tree. Well, then now I've got to go back up there. So I've wasted $300 or $200 of that on the trailer, right? A guarantee would have been just spending money on the rental for the chainsaw, which I need to own one, c'est la vie, because I know that I can go put in the work for that portion of the project. And then I don't have to borrow a truck with a trailer. And of course, I don't really know how long it's going to take me to cut up a tree that fell, in a storm, because I just see photos of it, and I've honestly never done something like this before. So it is a relatively new opportunity to me. But nonetheless, spend money on some guarantees. The other thing that I learned, the Chicago Marathon was this weekend. There's for a very long time, there's no reward whatsoever for the input. And then there's a reward, but it's not monetary whatsoever. And then maybe you can get a monetary reward, which incentivizes you to continue going. And then after that, I haven't reached this point yet, but it's just so much more money and influence and, whatever you want to call it, than you could ever imagine. Creative endeavors, you either get by barely, but most likely you're in the two buckets of 99% of people that don't succeed whatsoever. They just work all the time on something that's actually not that good, and they don't learn the creative process well enough to be able to craft something that people find engaging. Or, you get through that bucket of people and you do figure out the creative process and you actually put out stuff that people want to watch. And then you're the 1% of people that reap all of the benefits, that just so many opportunities and so much money comes your way. And so it's worth the 4 years of, working on projects just for the fun of it and purely out of, the excitement, or I guess the enjoyment that you get from creating content. That's been the past 4 years for me. I just go out there and make videos because that's who I am. That is my identity. That is what I was born to do. And so then, this weekend in Chicago, to have 100 people come up and recognize me at the marathon, maybe even more, from my videos. Dude, I've seen your videos. What marathon are you on this weekend? What number is this? The overalls were crazy, brother. Are you kidding? That's crazy. To be able to just walk and people recognize me from the videos that I post online. Real people. Actual impact. It's not just numbers on a screen. These are people. This is a community. That's crazy. And so I'm just barely starting to taste a little, spoonful of what it's like to actually succeed at a creative endeavor. There's just an absurd amount of things happened this weekend. I don't even know how to describe it. Let's kind of go through it. I was on a podcast a while back. They had a bunch of friends who were on that podcast as well that I got to meet up with. One of them was a professional runner that ran a 2:33, which was absolutely crazy. Eric Floberg. And so, not to name drop or anything. But then as well, during the shakeout that Life in Stride, the podcast, did with Eric Floberg, I met Matt Choi, name drop. I saw Lexi Watts, name drop, and Isabel Jensen. I saw them again because I had already met up with them at a different marathon. But it was just cool. Nico Fellish was there. I didn't meet him. There were a couple of other content creators. It was all kind of a blur because just so much was happening all at once. There were 700 people at this shakeout run, right? And this was Friday or Saturday before the marathon, which was absolutely absurd. So then to be recognized there among all of those people that I watched their content, Matt Joy, Isabella, Nico, to be recognized, it made me feel like I was one of them, which is crazy. That's something I've never really experienced before, being a part of a community of creators and then being comfortable with it. It wasn't like a weird thing at all. Everyone who was there was just incredible. It was great people coming together to run a shakeout run before the Chicago Marathon. Just a lot of fun. So then that was cool. And then that kind of snowballed into, just meeting a bunch of creators that I never thought I would have met. There was another shakeout run that I went to. And so I got to get connected with some people who, run from Great Britain. They're over here for the Chicago Marathon. So that was really, really interesting. And that's going to potentially open some doors down the road. Not that that's what I'm most interested in. It's just like, I know that that's where things like this go, is that you follow someone, they follow you, you engage with their content, and it's difficult to collaborate with them. But then down the road, they're like, hey, could you mention my name to this person, or X, Y, and Z. And that's just how these things go, is like you meet people and then they want to help you, you want to help them. And so whenever you can, you try to help out, right? And I want to just overwhelmingly bless as many people as humanly possible, just because I know that it comes back tenfold. And so then trying to find ways to kind of pour into their lives is going to be one of the highlights of my year this next year. It's like, as I continue to grow a community, how can I, collaborate with other people and create content with them to kind of really do something great, right, together. Nonetheless, after that, I went to the expo, and that was crazy because I had a lot of people recognize me there, which was really cool because it's crazy, but I walked past this guy and it's Marcus, the guy who does Minted in New York City. It's like, oh, that's cool. Hey, man. It was funny. I was literally just standing there trying to find my race bib, and I was talking to not the security guy, but whoever it was. I was like, hey, I can't find my thing. And I look up and I'm like, oh, that's Marcus. He's standing right here in front of me. It's like, him and two other buddies. It might have been two other guys who were also famous. I had no idea. And then there's kind of, I don't know, I was kind of acting too much like a fan. And anyways, I kind of ended the conversation quick. And he was like, yeah, man, just send me an email or whatever. We'll talk through it. And then I walked away, and not even a minute later, he was still standing there. Someone came up and recognized me, like, oh my gosh, Mom, this is the guy I was telling you about, 50 States Marathon Challenge. You're crazy. Let's take a selfie. Right there in front of him, which was really crazy, So I got my race bib and then walked over to get my shirt at the end of the expo. I was walking through the whole place, saw a couple people, and they were like, yo, dude, I've seen the marathons. That's so sick what you're doing. That's cool. And then I, waiting in line for this, to grab some water, walk over and get my t-shirt. And on the way over to get my t-shirt, I, stumble into a guy who won the Backyard Ultra, 140 miles in one day, which was crazy. Which that was really cool. And then I walk over to get my shirt after talking with him for 5 minutes, trying to, collaborate in some way for an ultra marathon, which I think we have in the works. And then I turned back around, grabbed the t-shirt, and these two girls at the booth, no way, oh my gosh, you're the 50 States guy. They wanted a selfie too. Two creators that were just there standing, in the area. And for whatever reason, maybe it's because it's just a compelling story that I have with the 50 States Challenge, but these people wanted photos with me right in front of the content creators that I've watched their content for such a long time. It's just really cool. So then leaving the expo, I was really encouraged because, as I was running over there, the guys at Life in Stride, specifically Scotty, which you got to check out their stuff. They're incredible. They were hyping me up hella with the crowd of people just saying oh, Wyatt Moss, you haven't met Wyatt Moss yet? And that was crazy. So I was so encouraged going back to the hotel that night, and I had so much stuff that I had edit and like, videos I wanted to record, and I was walking around all day and just like I was exhausted, and so it was late at night and I had to figure it out, and I just fell asleep after staring out in the pond and trying to record a video, and woke up the next morning, got to the race, and the line for the bathroom was like an hour long, so that was terrible, but I was able to start the race. And lesson that I learned there was that I was trying to do too much all at once. I should have, planned to have an extra hour there, because it's a world major. There's going to be 50,000 people. Of course, the bathroom lines are going to be super long. And so then I should have planned out that side of things, and then as well, not tried to take on too much with the Ketone IQ sponsorship from this past weekend, which I want to deliver a high quality product for them. So then that was difficult because like, do I have to carry this, this prop, this bag of Ketone IQ samples with me the whole race until I give them all out? I was trying to figure out that detail, and like there were just things that I didn't really think through. And it was kind of good that this first experience happened. So now I can kind of circle back and we can talk through it, and I can say, hey, this didn't really work last time, but we could do it this way. And then as well, for me personally, if I'm doing a sponsorship video, I should probably get there an hour early just to make sure that I can get the content I need to get, right? Especially because I'm getting paid for this, spend time on guarantees as well. It's okay to not edit a video the night before and go to sleep and get some good sleep. That way I can wake up early and get there so that I can get good footage for a sponsored post. That's a good, spend money on guarantees, spend time on guarantees as well. And that's a guarantee, is that I was going to have to post that video, so I might as well just, because I didn't even post the video from the night before that I spent an hour and 15 minutes trying to record and edit, out on the lake. So anyways, constant reminder that wearing a costume is so much better than just running the marathons alone. People recognize you, and it encourages them, and then gives them something fun to, talk about and remember further down during the day. Around mile 6, I was wearing a Greek toga the whole race, and a bunch of people started cheering like toga, toga, which was just incredible, awesome, so much fun. And then, mile 22, mile 25, whatever it was, down, the line later that day, maybe it was the same crowd, maybe it was a different one, but people started chanting it again. It was just really cool. It happened a couple times throughout, or like people would recognize me once and then say, yo, he's back, stuff like that. Like, that is incredible. People like, something to mix up their life. Then on top of that, like all the people that I was running with, I would just run past someone who was walking, and I'd say, hey brother, we got this. Hey, you got this, girl. Come on, let's go. And they would see me in the toga and they would just start laughing. And then they'd be like, all right, I'm joining this guy. It's just so encouraging to be able to do that during a marathon, right? I could have gone all out, but I was wearing the toga. So it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to go all out today, so I might as well enjoy it. I still ran a 3:30 wearing a full toga, stopping all along the way to take videos of dogs, posters, take videos with, the runners that I was going with, and like people who recognized me along the course, which there were like at least 10 runners during the race. They were like, I've seen your videos, man. Keep it up, which is just incredible. So then anyways, finished the race, and there's a lot of opportunity popped up. And this was like a God moment, 100%, where like first off, I wanted to do like a post-race Chipotle meetup, and I didn't plan it out whatsoever because I wanted to basically copy what Life in Stride and Floberg did, because, I'm an ambitious young kid. Like, I'm going to try to figure out a way to make that happen. And so I should have planned this out for a week in advance. I'm going to do that from New York City, right? As well, one thing I learned there is that I posted on my story the location, but I never really had something where people could RSVP, so I didn't know what to expect of people going there. And so I kind of just sat down with my food and I was editing on my phone. And so maybe there were people there that were like, oh, I want to meet up with this guy, because there were like 600 people that said yes on the poll that I had on my Instagram story the day before, which is crazy because I used to only get 500 views on my story, and now 8,000 views and 600 votes on a yes. They're like 1,000 votes total on the story. Crazy. It's just really incredible to see. But of the people who said yes, let's say 10%, so 30 people, or 60 people wanted to actually go, and then maybe like 5 or 10 actually were going to do it. Well, I had no idea how to gauge like if they were there. As well, if I was sitting down editing and eating food, they probably might have seen me, and then they're like, I don't know if I want to go up and talk with this guy if he's just sitting by himself. You kind of need a crowd of people with you to lighten the mood, and then as well give like permission to the people who are coming to the Chipotle after party, let's say, to be able to approach you, because it's kind of a weird thing to just go up and be like, hey, are you the marathon guy? You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it's a different setting than when you're at the race. So that was a lesson learned. And so I kind of left there because my phone had a battery. And so I left Chipotle and I went up to the Life and Stride folks with, or all the boys with Floberg there. And that was really cool because I got to talk with them. And so we went over and checked out this Bandit Running. The founder was at this pop-up shop that they created in Chicago, and it's probably most likely going to turn into like their first, shop outside of the one in New York City. So anyways, Bandit is just like this really big running brand that's blown up the past couple of years. And it was cool to be able to meet him because now, like, when Zeus overtakes them, I get to shake his hand again and we get to exchange ideas as equals. But anyways, and not as me being some kid. It was cool to see that and to be kind of welcomed into that world because he, the founder, Tim, knew Eric, and then Eric introduced Life and Stride, and he's now going to be on their podcast. And since I was already there, he was like, oh, you're part of the group. You're one of the people. It's just cool to, even though Life and Stride doesn't have a huge following, they have a massive influence. And so then to take that opportunity and have a really fun time having a podcast with them 2 months ago before any of the videos started really doing well, it's crazy to see how that started to like really pay dividends. Not that that was what I was interested in. It's just that it's cool, Okay, so then after that, this is the crazy part of the God moment, is that I sat down to get the bus, and then I waited 15 minutes, and it was cold outside, and there was no bus coming because the Chicago Marathon shut down the routes. And so I figured, okay, if the bus isn't coming, I'm just going to order a Lyft. So I did that, and I had another 15 minutes before I was supposed to leave. And so I look over, and there's an ABC News truck, and I was like, okay, that's cool, whatever. Like 5 minutes go by, and I just get this gut feeling. It's like, all right, walk over there. Come on, Wyatt, just go over there. So I walk over to the news van, and there's guys out of it. I was like, hey, my name is Wyatt Moss. I'm not sure if y'all are taking stories. I just wanted to let you know I'm running a marathon in all 50 states this year, and today was number 39. I would love to tell you all about it if you're looking for a story for the news. And he's like, yeah, tell me more. And so I told him the whole story and the whole point about how I want to bring Nana with me to the 50th marathon in Hawaii to push her across the finish line so we can both get our 50th state. And then that whole story, I wrote that down on a note on his phone with my contact info. He sent that to his contacts at ABC and at NBC and all these different news stations. One of them reached out to me at 7 o'clock, like an hour later from this context, from the time that I reached out to him, or maybe 2 hours later. And then an hour after that, they showed up with a van and pulled out the camera and had a reporter there and recorded an interview with me. It was 12 minutes long. And then they used a clip from that for the 10 o'clock news with some of the scenes of the marathons that I've done so far this year, which was incredible. Like, it just goes to show that, take opportunities. Just, you never know, just ask. A lot of people probably would have just sat there because it was cold. They would have just sat in the bus stop and just been like, I don't even want to have to deal with that. But I got that gut feeling, and maybe that's not the reason why you develop that relationship with God, but it's just like a massive benefit that people have no idea until they fully experience. It's like, you just get that gut feeling, and then that's what communication with God looks like, is that gut feeling where it's just like, oh, I know this is the way that I'm supposed to be acting in this current point in time. And so then me walking over there, open this door, and then now, like, that's the second time I've been on the news. It kind of like, shows all the different sponsors that I want to work with and that I've been in contact with, or the race organizations, which that's crazy. I got to tell you about the downhill marathon series that, like, I just asked this race organizer or social media, manager for the or personal PR team leader, whatever the title is, for the Revel downhill marathon series. I asked her, Austri, if she would be interested in taking on a challenge where I take on all 4 of the downhill marathons next year with my followers, and then all together we do this challenge like throughout the year and get a special medal at the end of the challenge if we do all 4. And she was like, all for it, just absolutely stoked. And I was like, yes, that's so cool. And I kind of used that idea to leverage Lexi and Isabella and Matt Choi into kind of joining me for that challenge. I don't have any responses yet, but they all were interested. It was cool to just see the flow, the progression of that. Then as well to set up a call with Marathon Photo, or sorry, not a call, but a meeting in person, where I got to talk with like the head marketing guy and the founder of the company. And that will be incredible because I literally networked with the biggest content creators right before I went into this this meeting with them. And so I kind of got to leverage the fact that I was doing this event with them, with a marathon potentially, but I didn't talk about that, just the connection of how we might be working together on a project and how they would be interested in working on something like this, Marathon Photo. So now I'm like the guy that everyone knows with the contacts, and I'm like the networker, content creator. And then it's just like crazy how all those things kind of lined up, fell into place, did the interview, and that kind of solidified at the end of the day when I posted the video the next day that all the content creators that I was able to meet throughout the day, whoever saw it kind of maybe realized like this kid is not just a content creator with 30,000 followers, which is relatively small for a content creator. It's like they call it like a micro influencer, nothing crazy, right? It's like, oh, this kid is a lot more than that. Like he has got some potential, which is so cool how all that lined up. So then all together, phone is running out of battery, 1%. Altogether, incredible Chicago Marathon weekend. Could not have asked for a better time. Wonderful time for the 50 States Marathon Challenge. Let's ride.